I am currently out in the middle of the woods camping. It is winter time and it is about 34 degrees outside, everybody. Inside of my tent, though, it is quite warm. It is currently 58 degrees in here. How's it going, daddy, daughter? Hey, how's it going, Robin? So I am out here camping, though. I did some cooking, guys. I remember the last time I went live for my Quincy, you guys were all really adamant about me making some food. And I did a poll on my YouTube channel this past week, and I decided that I was going to cook what you guys picked. And you guys picked, I'm 5 seconds late. You guys picked beef stew. So I made a homemade beef stew tonight. Oh my gosh, it turned out good. I don't have a Dutch oven, so it was a little bit more difficult to cook because the moisture releases out of the stew while you're cooking it. But I went ahead and just kept adding beef stock to that, and it turned out like, oh man, it was so good. I wish you guys could taste it. This episode will be out in about a month, so you guys will be able to see my food then. I'll probably post some pictures here soon too. How's it going, MB Adventures? He's watching from his Quincy. You guys, so if you haven't, go check out the Inspire Adventure podcast. His name is Nick. He is just getting started, and I was lucky enough to go ahead and be on his podcast this past week. If you guys haven't checked that out, he's on Spotify under Inspire Adventure. You can also find him over on YouTube under NB Adventure, as well as on Instagram. Really cool dude. He's currently out in his Quincy, so he inspired me to build a Quincy this past couple weeks. And my last live stream, I was actually inside of the Quincy, which was the igloo video that I posted on. How's it going, Rustic Treasure Hunters? How's it going, Louie? But yeah, so I camped overnight in the Quincy last time, guys, and that was an experience. I tell you what, it got down to -7 degrees out, which was just like, that's astronomically cold. I was absolutely freezing. But that held up pretty well all night for the most part. I had to do a couple parts over where the stove was at. And I didn't run the stove as hot throughout the night just so I would stop from melting as much. After that, the past couple days, it has been warmer out here in Michigan. It's been about 40 degrees. So the top of the entire Quincy has collapsed in on itself, and now it's just like a little wall for it. So that's kind of cool still. So let's go a little bit about what's going on today. What happened to the Quincy? The Quincy melted, man. The top came down. That video will be out in a couple weeks for you to check out. So this is my third time out here camping in my hot tent. So let me go over what a hot tent is. So a hot tent is a lot like a normal tent that you would go camping in the middle of summer or fall, or but the only way that it differentiates is there is a spot up here where I've got a wood stove and the heat goes up through here. All the smoke is released out through there. Now this wood stove keeps it extremely warm in here. Now, if I pop this open, you could see that there's fire going in there, and this fire is keeping this place warm. Like I said, it's about 60 degrees in here. Up at the top of the tent, it's a little bit closer to, I'd say, like 80, 85 earlier, which it's because the heat rises. Now, it is very windy out here tonight, and that's the first time that I've come across wind issues since I started using my hot tent. And how I combated that a little bit was around the edges of my tent, I put snow on. And what that does is it's preventing any air really from getting through. Now, I didn't do that all the way around my tent. I only did that on, I'd say about 90% of my tent. And the reason for that is I still wanted a spot over by where the door is to get some ventilation down and underneath. Now, the reason I need that ventilation is, let's say this stove for some reason would just start smoking out the front door or anything like that. I need to have a constant airflow coming through. And with having the hole up in the top for the stack and having the part by the door open at the bottom, it makes it a lot safer for me to have like good oxygen in here. That can be an issue. Now, in my Quincy, I made sure I had to sleep with my head towards the entrance. And now that was because I was worried about collapsing on the Quincy. Now, I don't really have to worry about collapsings when it comes to my hot tent. That is because I have this pole right here in the middle that holds everything up. Let's say something were to catch fire in here, I can easily escape to anywhere on any of the sides. There are 2 doors on this tent, though. I do not have a dog. Sounds like you're learning lots, man. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a pause from talking about my hot tent. Now, do any of you guys have any questions about hot tents, or have you guys seen any videos of people out here using hot tents? I first started watching Nicholas Green Outdoors. He posts hot tent videos, and that really got me into wanting to go out and buy all the gear to get out here and jump out for it. And so, you use a tin for a lid, bend it like a tent, and that would work. So I jumped right into it though, and that's what I do with a lot of things like magnet fishing. I saw a couple videos on YouTube and I instantly just wanted to be a part of that. So I went and I ordered a magnet really quick. The same thing with this. I instantly wanted to go sleep in a tent in the middle of winter, and what better place to do it than Michigan? We've got tons of snow here, and it's the perfect spot to really do it. Prior to living in Michigan, I grew up here in Michigan, but I was in the military and I moved to San Diego for 5 years of my life. And the climate is very, very different in San Diego than it is here in Michigan. And I like that I found different ways to adapt and find a way to get outside still, because I really enjoyed going hiking and going to the beach and things like that over in San Diego. Out here, it's a lot more going down to the river, going magnet fishing, going to riding go-karts or going to riding quads, kayaking, little things like that. And I've really even enjoyed that. But I think hot tent camping is really the one hobby that I picked up in this past year that is like super winter friendly. I don't know about any of you guys, but if you magnet fish, I've been dealing with an issue with having frozen rivers where I live. I drive down to Detroit to magnet fish with Jason from the Motor City Magnet Fishers a lot, and like everything's just been frozen. I know this past weekend he went and was able to actually get a magnet in the water for a bit. So we're going to be collaborating again here soon. So if you guys haven't checked out me and Jason's videos, head over to my YouTube channel. There's a ton of really good collaborations with him. He's found a ton of really good stuff, guns, safes, pretty much anything big, you name it, he's knocked it off his bucket list. So I also have a playlist on my YouTube channel called The Top Magnet Fishers, and there are a lot of really good channels. I'm not going to name them all, but if you head over there and check out that playlist, you will find all up-to-date content from like a ton of really good magnet fishers. So make sure you guys are doing that. So let's go over a little bit of the gear that I have. How's it going, Brockton? So some of the gear that I'm using tonight, let's get to my sleeping stuff. So when it comes to sleeping, I'm gonna come over here. So I have this here sleeping bag. This is a 0-degree weather sleeping bag. So this is made for all weather pretty much. It's made by a company called Rioyalo. I will have the link posted down in the description of this. Underneath that, I have this air pad. Now this air pad is underneath the blanket, but this air pad right here, that adds 2.5 inches of air between me and the cot. And what that's doing is preventing the cold air from getting up and reaching my body. Because at night, it's very important that you keep that core body temperature going, or else you could freeze. And it really helps having a sleeping bag and that air pad. Now, the first time I came out here to do this, I didn't have that air pad, and I just had the cot. And that was a huge issue because I was getting very, very cold that night. Now, to combat that, I did do that. Now, if you look a little bit further down, I have this shiny part down here. And now what this is, it's a thermal tarp. Now, I run this underneath my entire cot. And the reason that I run this under my cot is to make sure that all of the heat that is coming off of the stove is deflected back towards me. So when I'm sleeping, I'm not worrying about losing as much heat because that tarp does a really, really good job of sending all of the heat back up to my body. And I found that helps keep me so much warmer than the first time I came out. The first time I came out, it wasn't bad. It got down to it got down to 14 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was warm because I had the stove going, but it was bad. I was kind of worried. It was my first time ever doing it. So I make sure to sleep with that. Underneath my sleeping pad, I also have a cot. So it's just a Ozark Trail cot that I bought at Walmart, and this cot gets me up off of the ground. Now, being up off the ground, like I said, is really important to keep that body temperature in and keep you away from that cold ground. Because underneath me, it's snow, guys. I'm sleeping on the cold ground. Like, there's snow in here. Now, a lot of that snow has melted since I got out here, simply because the fire has kept it a little bit warmer in here. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what I have been feeding the fire tonight. So I went out earlier and I split a bunch of wood. So I've got a bunch of these little split pieces that are really good to burn. They don't burn as long, so I've been trying to burn these ones during the day when I don't have to worry about a long burn as much. Now, towards night, I've got a bunch of like little 2x4 chunks and stuff. My aunt and uncle had a bunch of scraps out in their barn that they had for me to cut up, and my uncle cut those up for me to camp in my Quincy. But I still have some from that night as well left over. I didn't go through all my wood, so I've got some of those. I am also burning Duraflame log chunks. Now you can buy these Duraflame logs. They come in a chunk like this big. It's one piece, and typically you would put that whole thing into a fireplace. Now, when I first came out camping in my hot tent, I bought those. And the reason that it didn't work out was I cut too big of a chunk off and I put it in, and my stove stack just started glowing red. It was absolutely insane. It got so hot so fast. So now I cut them into chunks about this big and they work well. I pre-cut them at home, about 3 or 4 blocks of them pre-cut, so I always have some on hand. And these increase the temperature in the tent a lot and very fast. I can increase the temperature of my tent like easily 10 to 15 degrees in a matter of 30 to, I'd say, 60 seconds with one of these Duraflame log parts. Let me go ahead and shut this back down. Oh, shit. Let's go ahead and put something in this. Let's put something in this stove. So we've got some boards going right now. We'll move that to the side. We'll put this little piece of 2x4 in. We'll shut her back up. Now this stove that I have down here, I have to put this little stick here because the weld right here, it wasn't welded properly at the factory. It is not a huge issue. I am able to get a good seal with it still. Hey, how's it going, Jason? So Jason is late. We just talked about dinner, dude. I made some beef stew like the people were asking. It was so good, dude. So good. But I just keep adding pieces of wood like that throughout the night. Now, you might wonder what happens when it comes time to sleep. When I go to bed, should I be worried about feeding that fire? Yeah, so... Ooh, timeout. So Jason had to call the cops. He was magnet fishing in his attic tonight. I hope everything is good there, dude. But the stove, like I said, there was parts on the stove that do I have to worry about when I'm sleeping? So no, not really. I set alarms around 1.5 to every 2 hours throughout the night. And by setting those alarms, I'm able to wake up and get the fire going again. And that really helps stay warm throughout the night. Now, another part with this stove, when they sent it to me, it was missing the 2 side panels for where you were to put these like pots and pans after you cooked. Now, that was kind of a big issue for me because I plan to do a lot of cooking. If you guys go back and check out my other hot tent videos or my Quincy video, you'll see that I really enjoy cooking out in these places. How's it going, the Magnetic Squatch? How's it going, Jay? I really enjoy cooking, so that was kind of a big thing. So they sent me them. They sent me the wrong parts. So it just really aggravated me. I sent them a message trying to figure out what was going on, and they actually did me a solid, and they sent me an entire other stove, the same stove, but with all the parts, the entire thing, and told me to keep the one that I had, which was awesome. Like, I really appreciate them doing that for me. If you guys are in the need for a hot tent stove, if you go down in the description down there, there'll be a link to what stove that I use. I do recommend it, and the customer service there was really good. So they solved that for me. All right, let's address what Jason's talking about. So Jason, you found a handgun. So you guys, me and Jason, like I said, we magnet fish all the time down in Detroit. And with the water being frozen, he's been trying to come up with some ideas, and he was looking up in his attic. He noticed that there were some spots where he might be able to use his magnet to reach down into and stuff. And it looks like in the comments, it is being said that he found a handgun in his attic while searching. That is crazy. It's an older home. That's really cool, man. Okay, so I have been out here. The house is 70 years old, he says. How's it going, BC Treasure Trails? Good Omen. How you doing, brother? Good Omen is my brother, guys. If you want to go check out some super sick Jeep stuff, he's done a lot of really good stuff for starting off. Go check out Good Omen. He's in the comments there, so just go click on that and hit subscribe for me, guys. He did all of the design work for my logos. So if you guys are in need of logo work for your channel, or you just want to make some stickers of your own that have your name on it or anything like that, you want to have a design for you that's just custom, he will do that, and he's got affordable prices. So I highly recommend going to him, guys. The turnover time is super quick. From the time that I contract him to do the project for me for my logo to the time that I received sticker in hand was about 5 days, which that's fast, guys. It was awesome. So if you guys are looking for stickers or some product like that or designs, go check him out. That is an insane find. So I have been out here since about, I'd say 2:30 camping. When I first get out here, I'm going to walk you guys through the process of kind of what I do when I get here, because it's not an instantaneous thing. It does take a lot of prep. My whole prep takes about 2 hours from the time that I get to the location with my car to the point where I can go and actually like lay down and chill. Like it's very, very comfortable at that point. But during the 2 hours, I get out of my car and I get everything unloaded and onto my sled now. I purchased a sled this morning, like a ice fishing sled, to put all my gear on to pull through the woods with the snow. Solid, works great. So I pulled everything over, and so you guys don't see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff when I am filming these episodes. You guys see there's a lot of in between stuff where I'm constantly switching camera angles. I'm constantly doing this little part here and grabbing something different here. And there's a lot that goes behind it. So I'll get to the location, and the first thing that I do when I go to film, or when I camp especially, is I send my drone up and capture the area that I want to camp in. And that's just to kind of like take in and make sure that everything looks really good. And I use my drone actually to look for dead tree limbs up above me. That's when I'm looking for a spot to camp. I'm making sure that there's nothing dead above me, because they could fall down at night on you, and you don't want that. So I get out here and I check the spot out, I send my drone up, and the next part, I move a bunch of the snow away from where I'm going to set up. Now, the reason that I move all the snow is I don't want just a bunch of snow. It keeps it colder inside. I go all the way to the ground for the most part, just to kind of melt everything out, and it works really well. So once I get that, I go ahead and set the actual tent up, which is pretty easy to do with this. So I set the tent up. That takes about 10 minutes to get all the stakes and all the strings pulled out. After the tent set up, the first thing I get to is the stove. It's heat. I need heat. So it's very important that I get to that stove. I set it up. I set the smokestack up. After all the fire's going, I got all my gear set up. I set my bed up, and I get my bed all taken care of. Make sure I'm going to be cozy at night, because it is very important. I saw one of the comments that said, what's the temperature there with snow? So the current temperature here is 34 degrees, which is actually quite a bit warmer than what it has been. Oh, nice. Thank you, Michigan Magneto. I picked mine up at my local hardware store, Gamble's, and they're on sale right now too. If you guys are looking for sleds, like, they're almost half off a lot of spots because winter's almost over. So I definitely recommend getting one if you're going to be hauling gear around. So I get everything set up with my tent, and I get my stove and all of that stuff going. And at that point, I head out and I start harvesting wood. So I'm looking for wood that is already dead, that has been fallen over, but it's not laying on the ground. So I look for branches that are sticking up. That way when I cut them, I know that they're not soaking wet. How deep is the snow in Michigan? So it depends on where you're at. A lot of it is melted. We did get a big storm about a week ago, maybe a little bit longer now, where we got, I think, like 8 inches. But the drifts they're huge some spots. Like, I've seen 5-foot drifts, 4-foot drifts. It's crazy. Ooh, let me grab my other light really quick. Give me 1 second. I don't know where that light went. I have another light. I was told it was dark. There we go. I can make it lighter in here. I have the power. These little camping lights are not even just camping, but I use them for camping. If you don't have one of these, look at this. It's just a light switch. Oh, flip it on and it turns right on. Tell me that's not the sickest thing. I take these everywhere I go. Now, I'm surprised that this one is dying. I've got my good one charging up. My cable must have been falling out. Oh yeah, it's getting bright again. You should start a magnet group on Facebook. Maybe once a year we can meet up and clean up there. So I actually am part of a couple magnet fishing groups. My buddy Jason out of Detroit is planning a magnet cleanup, waterway cleanup in general, down there in Detroit in April. If Jason could go ahead and he can comment where the page is, but if not, I'll post the links on my Facebook and Instagram later on tonight or tomorrow, so you guys can be updated on that. These lights are cheap. You can get like a 3-pack, I think, for like maybe $8, $7, and you can get them even cheaper at like the Dollar Tree. I know they got them there. They've got all kinds of stuff there. But yeah, these are awesome. You can take them anywhere you go, and they just take batteries. The one that I use for my camera stuff normally is rechargeable, so that's pretty cool. How do I poop? So when that does have to happen, typically I'll either head up to my aunt's property that's up there, or I'll head home or just wait till the next morning. I don't stumble across that issue too much. I plan ahead. That's the thing. You plan ahead. Never be unprepared. So Juicy Raps is my old roommate. How's it going to Delaware? I actually just went to Delaware for the first time about a year and a half ago when I got out of the Navy. I was visiting a buddy over in Maryland, and I pulled through. It was a really cool area. Yeah, definitely an empty water bottle. The difference in temperature outside of this tent, I don't want to go out there, especially to have to use the bathroom. All right, so let's go over a little bit more what's going on down here. So I've got my stove going. It has kept everything warm. I got everything set up. I had my stove set up. I had the wood cut. So we're at this point, something just happened. At this point, I was hungry, guys, and I was ready to start eating. So I've been making a lot of different really crazy meals as I'm out here camping. And tonight's meal, you guys had told me you wanted me to make beef stew. So you know what I did? I made beef stew because you guys wanted it. And it was delicious, and I really appreciate the suggestion. Every time I come out to camp from now on, I will be posting a poll on my YouTube to see what you guys want me to eat. I want to cook some garlic parm wings soon, so if you guys want to pick those, that'd be real cool. Oh, you were in the Navy. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yep, I'll appreciate you too, man. Yep, I was stationed over in San Diego. Hey, Mom, how are you doing? So I got everything cooked up, and I was making beef stew. Now, I forgot to bring out the meat. That was an issue. Luckily, I called back to my parents' house. My dad ran out the meat for me to cook with, and got everything cooked up. And so this is the first time I've used a little bit of tomato paste when I cook in my beef stew. Normally I don't, and I've seen it in a bunch of different recipes recently, so I decided to try it for myself, and it was really good, really good. Now, there's just something about cooking out here in a hot tent that just it's awesome. Have you tried making chicken? I would love to make chicken wings out here. My favorite thing to cook is chicken wings, guys. I've mastered it. I've came up with this technique that involves literally cooking it 3 different ways before it's done, and they are and I want to show you guys that. So I'm going to put that on my poll every single time, and you might just get the chance to see that. Yep, so instead of using flour on my meat chunks, I like to use cornstarch. So cornstarch is like my favorite thing to use when it comes to making things crispy. It's like my little trick, and I like how it pulls moisture out of stuff too when I'm doing a lot of different cooking, so I use it a lot. Let's see, there was another question. Do you have your magnet with you? I actually do have my magnet on me. I think I've got 5 of them in my trunk. I always keep my magnet on me. You never know when you're going to need to go throw a magnet. Now, it has been a while since I've gotten to throw a magnet, guys. Everything has been just absolutely frozen. I don't know if where you're at, it freezes like that, but that's a big issue up here, and it leaves you having to branch out and do a bunch of other things. And, ooh, my light started working. So, like, I've been coming out and doing camping per se, and that has really been enjoyable, and it's been a nice little bit of change of pace, but I really miss magnet fishing. Like, it has been probably, I don't know, 3 weeks since I've thrown a magnet. Last time I threw a magnet was with the Motor City Magnet Fisher down in Detroit. So, some Vicks Vapor Rub to ants. Yes, no ants out here right now. Too cold. Way too cold. Let's check and see. Where'd my temperature gauge go? Let's see what the temperature is right now in the tent. So, it is about 50 degrees right now in the tent, Fahrenheit. So 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Outside of the tent, it is about 32 degrees now. So it is cooling down outside, but I am remaining warm in here. That is good. Now, I showed a little bit ago my stove. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys this now for everyone new that has joined. Now this is my little wood stove, and this is what I use to stay warm. So I just feed it little pieces of wood. Let me grab. I've been feeding it little pieces of wood like this. And it just takes one or two and keeps the fire going. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put one of these Duraflame logs in to show you guys how warm it gets and how fast it gets that warm. There we go. That should take off fairly shortly. Those things are beasts. They've got like a little fuel in them to keep them going really good. There we go. And they burn so hot. So hot. So that's what the issue is. But all right, so let's go ahead. Any bug bite so I don't deal with too many bugs out here. It's in the winter time, at least I don't have to worry about that as much. Now this tent that I'm staying in tonight is a one Tigris Wild Haven lightweight camping tent. Now this tent does have an insert that you can put inside of it in the summer, and that does have a bug protector on it, which I really enjoy. I haven't had the chance to use it yet because I just started using the tent for winter camping, but I do plan to go out there with the other one, and I'm very excited with that. I'm looking to branch out and go north here soon to do a little bit of camping, maybe all the way up to the UP, up to like Marquette or something. Maybe go find a good cliff to go camp by, or just something with some really good views to show you guys. I really enjoy going out and traveling and finding new things, finding new stories and adventures. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and drop. If you guys did not check out the Inspire Adventure podcast this week, it's on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. I was the guest this week, and we talked about hot tent camping. So me and Nick from Inspire Adventure went over all kinds of different stuff, the gear you need, the difficulties that have happened, the cost of getting started. There's a lot of really good info in this podcast, guys, and it is a really good time. Like, I really enjoyed having that conversation over there, and I think you guys will enjoy it too. There's a ton of really good info there. Go camp out a spot and ooh, that would be cool. Camp out where we magnet fish at. See, I magnet fish down in Detroit. It's kind of sketchy in some spots. I don't know if I'd want to go camp there. Crazy stuff. So I'm a Michigan State fan, as you can see by my hat. I actually just started college there the past couple months. It's my first semester back after the military, so things are going well there. It has definitely been quite the adjustment. But things like my channel and getting out here and doing some camping really helped me like decompress. It is my spring break right now. They gave us 2 days off for spring break. So that is what I'm doing currently. Yeah, I guess the police would think we are homeless if we did that, Robin. But yeah, I've really been enjoying this, guys. So go green, go white. All right. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to give you guys a little tour of the rest of the spot because I know that you guys wanted to see it last time. So let me turn this way. So if you look up top here, my stove is running up into this spot. And now what this is my stove smokestack. And all of the smoke is exiting out my tent through this part up here. Now this is some fire cloth that is made by one Tigris that just Velcros into place, and that prevents my tent from getting burned. Now, if you look up over here, you can see there's actually some burn marks. Now, I had some issues last time when I was out here camping, and I was laying down that morning and I looked up, and right here on the tent, these were glowing orange. And I knew it was not good. So what I went ahead and did is I bought a smoke like diffuser for the top, or spark diffuser on the outside of the tent. So that way, when all of the heat and stuff travels up, let's say anything with flames or anything that could catch fire goes up, it no longer can come back down on my tent. It only can go up and come back down the stack into the fire pit itself. Now, these are the panels that they did not include that I said that the company forgot to send me. They are very important. Like I said, I do a lot of cooking on these, so I like having some place to set my stuff down. If you look over this way, so over here is my sled. You can kind of see the bottom of it. This is where I pull everything up with, and I've got all of my gear up on there right now. So, what was the question? My stove is sitting flat, so the actual spot that I'm on, the stack up there, I've got strings up there. It's just I'm in here right now, so I'm not going to go adjust it right this second. They just strap straight onto it. So, So like I said, this is my third time out here camping, guys. And the biggest thing that I've found that is helpful to camp out here is you need to be prepared for the cold weather. There's different layers you need to be wearing. And the first time I came out here, I knew that I needed layers, but I didn't necessarily know to what extent. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through how I keep warm out here. I start with just a t-shirt that's a little bit tighter to my body, and it helps keep in all of the, it soaks in all the moisture that's in my body. The next layer, I wear something that has an insulator, but it's breathable. So the inside of this is fluffy and it's warm, it's thermal, but it allows all of the moisture to evaporate out of my body. Now this keeps me warm while I'm inside the tent as well as out, but when I'm outside of that, I wear another layer over top of my thermal layer, and what that does is it blocks the wind from my body. And that keeps me a ton warmer, believe it or not. Even having a windbreaker on over this would keep me warmer out there because it's preventing the wind from getting into the other parts of my body. Another thing is my boots. So my feet get very, very cold. Boom, always hydrate. My feet were getting cold the first couple times I came out here, and I found that they make these hot pads, but they've got like these sticky things on them. So you can strap them straight to the bottom of your feet, and then after that, I just shove them back in my boots. And they'll stay warm for 12 hours. So I put those in about 6 o'clock, 6:30 every time I come out to camp now. And it makes my feet stay just warm and toasty the whole time. So that's the best part. Oh yeah, those non-sweat shirts are awesome. So those keep my feet warm. That keeps my torso warm. How do I keep my legs warm? So the way I keep my legs warm, I've got this thin pair of sweatpants that I wear underneath a pair of jeans. And so with the sweatpants underneath, that's holding in all the warmth. And the jeans do a fairly good job at blocking all of the wind from hitting my legs. So that keeps me very warm. So my legs stay warm that way. Now, when I am sleeping at night, I do switch out of my jeans and I throw another thick pair of sweatpants on. And I find that that helps a little bit. And I take the hot pads and I slap them all over my body, front, side, back. And it works really, really well to keep my actual torso warm too. So it is very important to drink water, especially when it's cold out. You'll get dehydrated very, very fast compared to when it is warm out. You won't realize it because you're not losing it all right away. So, like I said, I got done cooking, and after I was done cooking, it was about time to go take some photos. It was about the golden hour. That's the best time to take photos, right at sunset when the sun is just perfect in the sky on the horizon over the corner. So I had a lot of really good photo opportunities, and I went and did that. I had a mishap with my drone today. It's very sad. Man, it just makes me mad. I'm kicking myself over it. So I landed my drone and I was going to go walk out to go pick it up and put it in. But as I was walking over, I slipped and I fell and I broke the front left arm on my drone. So now I can't even fly my drone. It's unflyable currently. Lucky for me, they do make replacement parts for drones. I think it's going to make a good video. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fix it myself. There will be a little bit of soldering involved, so I've never done that, so that's cool. I was a welder and a metal fabricator in the military, so it should be right up my alley. I should be able to figure it out pretty quick. But man, I was just so mad that that happened. I know I beat that thing to crap, and not really beat it to crap, but I fly it through a lot of crazy stuff. I risk it for the shot. Like, I've crashed that thing a lot of times. If you remember back, like episode 35 or something, I put my drone into the river, like completely underwater, and I ran and dove into the Cass River, and it was it was not good. It was not good. And my drone has survived that. Like, it's survived just about everything. So I really believe that it is going to survive me switching out the arm on it. How you doing, Thea? My aunt that I'm staying on her property, she's in the comments. I appreciate you. If you guys have not, go ahead over to the top magnet fisher playlist that the Brockton Magnet Fisher just posted. There is a big group of us over there. I'm not going to name drop everyone, but head over to the playlist, guys. There are very good finds in there. Guns, gun restorations, safes, you name it, it's over there. There's a lot of bucket list finds and a lot of really cool personalities and a bunch of really cool guys. I'm personal friends with a bunch of them, and it's very, very, very cool, guys. Very good stuff. So make sure you guys are heading over there and checking them out. If you guys have not hit subscribe, go ahead and hit subscribe today for me if you would, and get those alerts turned on. I post new clips to my YouTube channel every single Friday, and I post new clips over on Instagram every single day. So head over to Instagram and hit follow over there too. I do plan on going live over there next time I come camping, so you might have to catch me over there next time. So for those of you guys just joining, I am out hot tent camping in my hot tent made by One Tigris. It is the Wild Haven lightweight camping tent, and it is made for backpacking and stuff like that. When it comes to winter, I use it for just hot tent camping, but it folds up to literally about this big, and it's very, very light. I can fit my entire sleeping pad in my tent and pretty much all my gear into a single backpack comfortably. So like, it's a very, very small tent. But this tent does have a stove jack up top, which allows me to put a little wood stove in the tent. Now, in the winter, it gets very, very cold out here where I'm camping. It's currently about 32 degrees outside. And with that being said, it could get very cold inside of this tent if the fire were to die down. Now, I make sure this stove is constantly hit with fire. It constantly has wood going in it. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that now for those who haven't seen it. Ooh. So this is my wood stove. I'm constantly burning little chunks of wood that look like this. I went out and cut these. There are pieces of dead wood that were branches. I went ahead and cut them and split them all with my Schrade. I believe it's the SAAXE2 hatchet, and that works really, really well. So I just take these little pieces and I feed them up into here. I use my little poker stick. Always have a poker stick. And I poke that up in there. And that just keeps the fire going. Now, let's check the temperature in here. It is about 55 degrees now. Ooh, let me turn that so you guys can see it. It is about 55 degrees now in here. So it is warming up. Let me show you what I am burning. I've got a couple different things that I'm burning. I am burning Duraflame Logs. These little Duraflame log chunks burn so freaking hot. They burn forever. I literally have been using these since the first time I came out, and it's taken a ton of experimenting with these. I originally cut them into chunks that were about this wide by that fat, probably twice the width of a hockey puck, and that was too hot. This whole stack, the whole part coming off the back here, my stove stack was red hot. And that was not good. So with these, I cut little tiny pieces about this size now, and this is about the perfect size. And these create about 10 to 15 degrees of temperature rise very, very fast. Let's go ahead and put one of those in. Ooh. Oh yeah, she's taking right off. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that open for a second. It is like warming up very quick in here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up at the top of the tent, and this is gonna tell us how warm it is up there. I'm gonna guess, if I had to guess, I'd say it's about 80 degrees up here. So I'll go ahead and put this up. I got it rigged up so I can just clip it into place. I thought I should have brought a string for it. I didn't. I should have brought one to hang it up. Next time I will. But up there, it is so much warmer than it is down here. Now, the air in here when I first got in here wasn't very dry because I was cooking with a liquid for my beef stew. So it was more humid in here. Now all of the tent behind me is dry. The air is more dry. And that's okay, but I'm making sure I'm drinking lots of water because I can tell that I'm getting dehydrated, and I'm getting dehydrated fast. Now, I did bring a bunch of water with me. I always carry a case in my car too, in my trunk, in case of emergencies. If you don't do that, I definitely suggest trying that and keeping them there. You never know when you might need it, or you see someone on the road walking that might need a water. I've used it a couple times. The stew was excellent. So I love to cook, guys. I marinated this beef overnight in some garlic, rosemary, and some sea salt. And then I seared that up real nice. I added in some shallots and mushrooms and got those going, and they were so good. Then I added a ton of beef stock, and you guys will see it when the video comes out. It turned out really, really, really good. I think you guys would like it. I'm gonna go ahead and post a poll here in the next couple days to see what you guys think I should eat for my next hot tent camping video. Ooh, I'm gonna go ahead and shut that now. Those Duraflame logs, they do put off a little bit of a black smoke. So you wanna make sure you've got your door shut when you do burn those. I just noticed a couple little particles flying around, but that is okay. All right, I'm gonna check and see what the temperature was up at the top of this tent. Oh, wow. It is almost 85 degrees, closer to 90, 85. We'll go 85 degrees out. It's 85 degrees at the top of this tent. That is a huge difference from down here to up there. Down at the very bottom, it's probably 20 degrees cooler. How's it going, Snorkel Pirate? That temperature change is completely nuts. But it's very important that I'm constantly getting this fire more wood so that I don't freeze. Now, when I first came out camping my first time, I had an issue because I fell asleep and my alarms did not go back off. So here I am at 2:30 in the morning, and at 2:30 in the morning my fire is out and it is 14 degrees outside. I'm in my 0-degree sleeping bag, which was good, but I was cold and I was like, what is going on? I could not figure it out for the life of me what was happening. So man, I forgot where I was going with that. I couldn't figure out what was happening though. Oh, you still have not been able to find those dehydrated mushrooms. So if you are looking for dehydrated mushrooms, I found them at a couple places now. Meyer, and then I know not everywhere has a Mennonite store, but at the Mennonite store by my house, they had some, and they were really good. I cooked those up the last time I was out here, so. Snorkel. I cooked beef stew tonight, man. Ooh, you're doing pork loin. That sounds good, man. So I recently did a brisket, my first ever brisket. You can turn a propane grill into a smoker with a little burner box, and I couldn't believe how well that thing worked. And then I put some temperature probes into it. I smoked it at 225 degrees for 10 and a half hours. And this brisket just fell apart. Oh man, it was the best brisket I've had in forever. Granted, it was the only brisket I've had in forever, but it turned out so good. I used mesquite and hickory wood chips in the box, and I was having an issue at first getting them to start smoking. But to get them to smoke, I just put them on for my camping setup, I've got these little 2 propane burners. And I just set the box on top of that with the propane burner, and it just burnt so well. Have a good night, Michigan Magneto. It just started smoking so well. You just stick it up into the grill, and oh man. But I let that go up into about 203. So I did soak some of them, Snorkel. I did soak some, but I don't recommend soaking them if you're using just that wood box for a propane grill. For an actual smoker, yeah, I don't recommend it though. It slowed down the process, and I wasn't getting as much smoke because there's not as much heat. Oh, we definitely need to have a big meetup and a cookout. I agree, Jay. That sounds like a good time. I love cooking. Like that has really been something that I've really got into during COVID. Was I've always liked cooking, but I started taking it a little bit more seriously. Have you guys ever heard of cured egg yolks? I had not. I watched this guy called Guga Foods, and he does a lot of really weird experiments in the kitchen. And his experiment that he was working on, he was making cured egg yolks. And what he did, and I also did, you take sugar and salt and you mix it together, and then you drop an egg yolk into it. You cover it in salt and more sugar, and then you put it in your refrigerator with saran wrap over it for 5 days, right? So at this point, I don't even like egg yolks, just putting that out there. I like eggs occasionally. I'm not big into eggs. So I go ahead and I put them in there for 5 days, and I pull them out, and they're like these little golden medallions. They're flat, but they're all slimy and just gross, right? So you take them and you put them in a dehydrator. So I dehydrated these egg yolks that I had cured in the salt and sugar. And after like, I'd say 2 hours, they are almost like the consistency of like a Baby Bell cheese. And I took that and I grated it like, like it was like a zest or something on top of my steak, and it turned out so, like, it's really creamy and like buttery tasting. It doesn't have a really egg taste to it. Like, I was so surprised. It doesn't take away from the steak at all. Like, if anything, it adds to it. It was nuts. It was so good though. So like, I've really been getting into that type of stuff. So the more experimental stuff the better. So all right, guys, so I am about to call it a night. I do appreciate everybody coming out and joining me out in the hot tent. My phone is getting close to battery percent, and I do have a little bit more filming to do tonight. If you have not, head over to the Brute Magnetics website at www.brutemagnetics.com and use the promo code SurfingUSA10 to receive a 10% discount. And also, a part of that will go towards the Surfing USA waterway cleanup crew that I started here in Michigan. We haven't had much opportunity to go out because of COVID and the waters being frozen, but I really do appreciate that. Thank you guys all for the continued support. It has been really cool showing you guys kind of behind the scenes of me filming and what goes on when I am filming, and getting to see my hot tent. So I will see you guys here soon. Have a good night.